Hey guys, and this is going to be a comparison of Apple's two most popular tablets, the iPad Air and the iPad 2. The iPad 2 was recently discontinued by Apple, but it was still one of its most popular tablets. I think it was one of its most revolutionary tablets, and it sports an A5 chip. It's a dual core. It's still pretty good for casual users, for multimedia and word processing and all that stuff. But if you're a huge multitasker, I highly recommend an upgrade. The iPad Air is the most recent addition to Apple's full-size tablet family. It sports the dual-core A7 chip with the M7 motion coprocessor, and it's an overall powerhouse as far as tablets go. The iPad Air is not as wide because of the decreased bezel thickness. Also, the iPad Air is significantly thinner and lighter than the iPad 2. The iPad 2 has a single mono speaker on the bottom right corner of its shell. Connector, which was introduced in the iPhone 5 and the third generation iPad, is also used in the iPad Air for charging and syncing. The iPad 2 has a pretty good front-facing and rear-facing camera, but I wouldn't recommend shooting video with it. The iPad Air's FaceTime camera is capable of shooting 720p video, while its rear-facing camera is capable of shooting full 1080p video. It has one microphone on the top, which can be a problem with filtering out a lot of background noise. Apple improved this issue with the iPad mini and iPad Air with dual microphones on the top and back of the device for noise cancellation. Alright guys, so I'm going to move on to performance. So the first thing I'm going to do is the boot up test. So in order for me to do this fairly, I need both of my hands so I can press the power on switch at the same time. So I'm going to put my phone down for a split second. Power on in 3, 2, 1. Let's see which one powers up first. And the iPad Air is now powered up. Still waiting on the iPad 2. And there's the iPad 2. So next is the VoiceOver startup test. I'm going to be using the triple click home feature, and there are no apps running in the background. So I'm going to announce the clicks as I do them, and first I'm going to do the iPad 2. So 1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver off.
Oh, VoiceOver's already off. I mean on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver on. Landscape.
And now the iPad Air. 1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver off.
And VoiceOver comes on. 1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver on. Landscape.
So you can see the
Home
iPad
button to the left.
the iPad Air is just a little bit faster. The next test I'm going to be doing will be the internet. So I'm gonna go ahead and find a web page with a whole bunch of pictures and elements and stuff and see which device loads faster. And I decided on nytimes.com. So I'm going to start the iPad 2 first. The web addresses are already typed into both.
Go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Westminster Chimes notification. Westminster Chimes. 30 minutes past the hour.
And the iPad 2 has loaded. So here comes the iPad Air.
Go. Sections.
So the iPad Air was just instant. Maybe half a second faster than the iPad 2. The next performance test I'm going to be doing is loading applications, and I'm going to choose a very memory intensive application, which will be GarageBand. So I'm going to go ahead and load it up on the iPad 2 first.
GarageBand.
1, 2, 3, go.
GarageBand.
And it's loading.
GarageBand. Heading.
Alright, there it is. So next, on the iPad Air.
Make tones. GarageBand. GarageBand. Double tap to open.
And there it is. So maybe a second faster on the iPad Air than the iPad 2. Just a couple of quick notes. The iPad Air, like I said, does have a faster processor and more RAM. It also is Siri enabled, and the iPad 2 is not. So if you're a Siri and dictation person, that may be one of your swaying decisions. The iPad 2 is still a really good device. I wouldn't recommend it for power users, but it's good for word processing and media and internet and stuff like that, but I wouldn't do all of that at the same time. The iPad Air, I actually do music and video production on. You can do video and music production on the iPad 2, but it just renders so slowly that it would not really be productive. So if you're a power user, I recommend the iPad Air. I try to do this as fairly as possible, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.